Open my door and the world walks in. Living in a city of immigrants. Living in a city that never sleeps. My heart keeping time to 1,000 beats. Singing in languages I don't speak. Living in a city of immigrants. City of black. City of white. City of light. City of innocence. City of sweat. City of tears. City of prayers. City of innocence. Living in a city where the dreams of men reach up to touch the sky and then tumble back down to earth again. Living in a city that never quits. Living in a city where the streets are paved with good intentions and a people's faith in the sacred promise a statue made. Living in a city of innocence. City of stone. City of steel. City of wheels. Constantly spinning. City of pain. City of immigrants.
City of pain. City of immigrants.
Living in a city of immigrants. Oh, I don't need to go traveling. Open my door and the world walks in. Living in a city of immigrants. Living in a city of immigrants. Living in a city of immigrants.
Our chalice lighting today comes from a UU Church Fellowship in Oberlin, Ohio. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share our time together.
Good morning. We welcome everyone who has come here today, braving whatever the New York State weather decides to throw at us at any given moment. We acknowledge that as we are here in our seats or in our homes, we are on the land of the Haudenosaunee, who by birthright, by the right of the Supreme Being, we're given this land, cherish this land, and we're stewards of this land, and now we are stewards of this land to honor them. We welcome everyone here. Doesn't matter who you are, who you love, where you've been before, whether it's your first time, might be your last time, but we hope not. But we welcome you here because we are a community that embraces the joy of being in community at any given moment. Do we have announcements? No. Okay. I just have one quick one. I've been off the scene for a while, and Roz, I almost said Roz Chast, Roz Carney and I are the chairs of the greeters. And in my absence and in Roz's absence, the greeters have been faithfully filled in. We need people to sign up on the bulletin board to be greeters. I will do my best to remind you that that week that's what your job is. And if you need any help or advice, there's plenty of us around, so you don't have to be nervous about it. You just need to be able to smile, say hi and welcome, and hand out one of these guys. This morning, it's my joy to introduce the Reverend Dr. Mark Caruana, Mark, who is someone Bob and I have known for quite a number of years. Mark served as Utica's Tabernacle Baptist Church in downtown Utica as their pastor for over 17 years. And during that time, the Karen began coming from Burma, began coming to Utica and receiving the wonderful supports that Utica had to offer. And one of those supports was the welcoming arms of the Tabernacle Baptist Church. During his time as pastor there, Mark and the congregation welcomed hundreds of ethnic Karen refugees from Burma. Mark has spent time in the refugee camps in Thailand and Burma, and most recently he was there for an extended period of time thanks to a Lilly Endowment sabbatical grant. He is currently emeritus trustee of the center, which was formerly known as the Mohawk Valley Resource Center for Refugees. In addition to being a tireless advocate for the Utica refugee community, Mark is a trusted friend and a compassionate servant to others. In his retirement, he and his wife Paula enjoy traveling to places that usually involve excellent museums and good food. He and Paula are also new grandparents, so he's got a lot of adventures ahead of him. We welcome Mark to be with us today.
Letty, thank you for those warm words of welcome. And now the gathering. Come, gather in the houses of the holy, the world pauses. In the hearts of the holy, love abides. In the havens of the holy, hope comforts. In the hearths of the holy, spirit refreshes. Come then, one and all, gather in. Come then, one and all, gather here. Bring here all your heart, bring here all your body, bring here all your soul. Come then, bring the broken, the vulnerable, the ragged, the outcast, the stranger, the other. Come then, gather in. Come. Come then, one and all, gather in. Come then, gather in.
Good morning. We have an excellent story called A Tree of My Own by Nui Wilson. And it has such pretty pictures, and I'm sorry to everyone online who can't see them, but A Tree of My Own by Nui Wilson. I was born one winter in the mountains deep in the forests of Burma. I am the Posada of my family. Posada means the youngest child in the Karen language. The midwife helped Momo give birth to me. She put my umbilical cord in a hollow piece of bamboo. Papa tied the bamboo to a latarla tree. Every child in my village had their own tree. Papa chose this tree for me because it was strong, beautiful, and useful. He hoped I would be too. And now we have a loading screen. While we have this lovely loading screen, think about your favorite tree. Do you have a favorite tree? Do you have a tree that you have known since you were little?
This has never happened before, am I right?
This has never happened to us before. We have never had a technical error. I think you want to be in that middle tab. Do we all want to use our imaginations to think about the pictures while I read from the other screen? Let's do that. And then everyone can think about the pictures and we'll all have the same experience here that we have on Zoom. In the summer, Papa used my tree's leaves to make our roof. He wove the leaves into panels with thin bamboo sticks. Momo made leaf hats. We used the leaves to wrap our food. My tree made my lunchbox, too. In the winter, my tree branches kept our family warm. I went to visit my tree often. I hugged the trunk. I played with its seeds. I even told my tree about what made me happy, mad, or sad. When I went to school, I brought seeds and wore my hat. Our teacher taught every grade in the same room. She loved teaching. I wanted to be a teacher just like her. One day, Papa said, "Posada, it's no longer safe for us to live here. The Burmese military has been destroying nearby villages and burning their crops. We need to move." I was sad and scared. I ran to hug my tree and say goodbye. Papa took my birthday log. I put seeds from my tree in my shoulder bag. Momo made a leaf hat for me. We packed only what we could carry, but left most things behind. We walked on foot many days before we crossed the border into Thailand. Finally, we arrived at our new home. Everyone called it a refugee camp. The refugee camp was like my village, but had many houses close next to each other. Papa built a new house, but the roof was not made of leaves from my tree. In my village, we got everything we needed by ourselves from the forest. At the refugee camp, we relied on charities to help us with food every month. Sometimes we ran out of rice or cooking oil and had to wait for more food to arrive. At the refugee camp school, I had new subjects to learn. I made new friends. Most of them had been born in the refugee camp. They had never been outside. I told them all about my village and my tree. I liked my new friends and new school, but we were not allowed to leave the refugee camp. My family could not go to the forest to gather food we liked to eat. I missed my village and my tree. After 2 years in the refugee camp, Papa said, "Posada, we are going to move again. We are allowed to resettle in America. It's better for you, and there are jobs for us. We have no future here." We were told we couldn't take plants, animals, even my tree's seeds with us. I planted the seeds in the refugee camp. I put my old leaf hat that I'd been wearing next to the seeds before I said another goodbye. On my first plane ride, I looked out the window and saw forests below. I searched for my village and my tree, but we were too far. We landed and settled in a city called Portland. We were placed in an apartment where the roof was not made with leaves. The trees were different too. Nothing like my Laterla tree. Everything was different. I was excited for my first day of school. My sister walked me there. We like to walk everywhere in Portland like we did back home. When I entered my classroom, the kids pointed and giggled at my feet. I was wearing donated ski boots. I didn't know ski boots were not for walking. They were the only shoes I had. In our new home, we did not rely on the forest for food. We did not wait for people to bring us food either. Here, we bought food at a supermarket. My parents learned English and went to work in a city for the first time. Their skills from our village were not useful here. My family missed the village. I missed my tree. As time went on, though, we started to get comfortable in our new home. On my birthday, my teacher gave me a cupcake. This was the first time I celebrated my birthday this way. I felt awkward and excited when I blew out the candle. After school, Papa carved one more mark on my birthday log, and we went into the forest. I wore a new chewa dress Mama wove for me. While my family gathered edible plants and mushrooms, I made my own discovery. There is a big, tall tree with a family of woodpeckers and a nest full of eggs, squirrels on the branches. A tall Douglas fir tree. On it lived families of animals and birds, and I fell in love with it. I had finally found a tree of my own. It is strong, beautiful, and useful, like my Laterla tree. 5 years have passed since we arrived in America. My sister graduated from school, she married and gave birth to a beautiful daughter. I was excited to become an aunt. I said to Papa, let's give her a tree. The tree we chose for my niece is a big leaf maple. It is strong, beautiful, and useful, just like she will be. When she gets older, I'll tell my niece about her big leaf maple and my Laterla. One day, I hope we can go together to see my tree in a peaceful Burma. The end.
Okay, impulse, please. Huh? And you can hang on to it. There we go. All right. Hi, everybody. That's sequence.
I can't answer that.
The reason we chose that story is, first of all, Reverend Mark Caruana has ministered to hundreds, maybe thousands of Karen newcomers over the last couple of decades, and also because we have the center here this morning, way in the back there. Is that Kathy? And the center, which you may know as the Mohawk Valley Center for Refugees and VRCR, has settled literally thousands of newcomers in Utica in the Mohawk Valley. So thank you so much. We're glad you are here. And folks, we hope that you will stop at the table after the service and find out perhaps how you can help, maybe even get involved with the center.
Yeah, he called for her and she
Yeah, okay.
must be indisposed.
By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, and
Thank you for the warm welcome that's already been extended to me. This is my first time in a UU worship service. I've been in this building a number of times for various community activities. I've been in this space as local clergy have gathered together, but never on a Sunday morning. In part because my Sunday mornings are usually spoken for by others. I come to you this morning as an ordained American Baptist pastor, and our traditions share some common origin points. Baptists emerged out of the nonconformist separatist movement in England, folks who became known as Congregationalists once they came here, about 2 centuries before the Unitarians emerged out of that same tradition. If you know anything about Baptists, every Baptist has a narrative, has a story, often called a testimony, about how they have experienced the presence of the divine, God at work in their life and in their world. Bob and Letty have hung around Baptists a little bit, and I think you know 1 or 2 things about Baptists and their testimonies. So most Baptists, because we emphasize individual experience of religion, can tell you how they've experienced God at work in their lives. And then most Baptists then check out that story, our individual stories, our small stories, if you will, by reflecting on the stories of Scripture, the big story of what God is about in our world and in our lives. So this morning, I'd like to do a very Baptist thing. I'd like to tell you some of my story, give you some of my testimony. And then I want to reflect with you briefly about a far more ancient story. In May of 1999, my wife Paula, my daughter Christine, then a 5th grader, and I moved from Poughkeepsie, where I had previously served the First Baptist Church in that community, to Utica. Think back, if you have this as part of your memory, of what Utica was like in 1999. It had one of the highest rates of arson anywhere in the United States. Its population had been declining for decades, but was in free fall and was plummeting. The city had reached a high point of population, a little over 100,000 at the end of the Second World War. And by 1999, the population was well under 60,000, heading for 55,000. The New York Times had interviewed the then mayor, Ed Hanna, who was quoted as saying, "Will the last person out of Utica please turn out the lights?" My friends said to me, "What in the world are you doing going to Utica?" In fact, when we had arrived, my wife and I went to the local supermarket to stock our shelves, and we struck up a conversation with someone in the cashier line. And we said, well, we're new to the community. We've just arrived. And the guy looked at us and said, what in the world for? Utica in 1999. The church I arrived to serve knew that its glory days in the 1930s and 40s, 50s, 60s, into the early 70s even, when it was a church of 1,200 members, were days that were long past, but not forgotten. The congregation I arrived to serve was a tenth of its former size. The questions on everyone's minds were, where have all the families with children that we used to welcome gone? The burning question for many was, why are we staying in this big old building that we will never, ever fully use again? And then something life-changing happened. In October of 1999, a family of 9 ethnic Karen walked through the doors of the church one Sunday morning. I had only a fleeting knowledge of where Burma was. I knew it was somewhere on the other side of the world, a little bit east of India, I thought, but that was my knowledge of Burma. These folks from Burma, these Karen folks, were also something completely new to me. I knew nothing about the Karen people. And they'd been resettled by an organization that I also knew nothing about, something called the Mohawk Valley Resource Center for Refugees. That family of 9 was the first of over 5,000 persons from Burma that the center would resettle in Utica over the next quarter century. And the head of the family, the patriarch, was a gentleman named Kaso Win. And it turns out that Kaso Win had been a senior leader, the equivalent of a minister in the Karen People's Government in Exile, the Karen National Union. And Kaso, through the magic of cell phones, began to contact his friends back in the refugee camps in Thailand to let them know that there's this town and this church that love and welcome refugees. So if you're being resettled, ask them to send you to the United States and ask them to send you to Utica. Shortly after the arrival of this family and those who would follow them, the church formed what we called a refugee ministry team. And the sorts of things the refugee ministry team did was when we learned from the center that a new Karen family was coming to the community, a couple of visitors from the refugee ministry team would show up at their doorstep, would make a visit, would introduce themselves, and present them with a rice cooker. Rice is the central staple of Karen folks' diet. And we would also present them with rice. And quickly we learned that there are varieties of rice. For Americans, it's either white or brown rice. Not for our Karen friends. There's good rice and there's bad rice. The good rice is jasmine rice from Thailand. And so we tried to take them good rice. Over the previous decades, many of the folks who were then my age now, newly retired folks who had seen their children go off to college and never return because there weren't jobs in the Mohawk Valley. These young retirees became surrogate grandparents for newly arrived Karen families, trying to help them ease the transition to American life. Things like, how do you get a phone installed? Some of you remember when phones were wired to the wall and you had to make an arrangement with a telephone company. How do you begin to negotiate that bureaucracy? Well, these surrogate grandparents would help to our new friends to begin that process. But they did many, many other important things as well. They tutored the adopted grandchildren. Many of those relationships have endured for 25 years now. We also created something called the Caring Corner, a place where donated household goods, things like forks and spoons and bowls and cups and linens for the house and a variety of other items were provided to our new friends. Also along the way, we began to learn the story of the Karen people. We learned how they were persecuted as a religious and an ethnic minority. We learned how during the Second World War, the Karen sided with the Americans and British, and the Burman majority sided with the Japanese, and that conflict continued to boil just beneath the surface of national life in Burma. They told stories of how that decade-long conflict continued on because of the actions of the Burmese military junta that ruled the land. They told stories of the decades, in many cases, that they and their families had spent in refugee camps in Thailand. Here were people from halfway around the world. Perhaps those families and children that the church had so longed for, who suddenly found a place of welcome at Tabernacle Baptist Church. Today, Tabernacle is a congregation that speaks in two languages, Karen and English. Karen, by the way, is the majority, served by both an English language and Karen language pastor. Sunday school rooms which had been abandoned are now overflowing. There are large youth and young adult groups. Programming is happening throughout the week and on the weekends. When you drive by Tabernacle today, you will often find that no matter what day of the week it is or time of day, that there usually are a healthy number of cars in the parking lot. The church is beginning a fifth round of a multi-year, multi-million-dollar building restoration effort on its 1901 and 1865 buildings. But the true impact of welcoming Karen refugees is not really about institutional renaissance. It's about the resurrection and renewal of individual lives and families, both long-standing Utica families and newly arrived Corinne families. I've been privileged to celebrate with my Corinne friends as they've purchased their first home, celebrated with them as they have advanced in their workplaces, celebrated with them as they have watched a child walk across the stage and receive her high school diploma, her college diploma, her grad school diploma. I have witnessed them being sworn in as U.S. citizens and then seen the pride they have in casting their first ballot. I've been allowed to be present with them at the most significant moments in life, the birth of a child or a grandchild, the marriage of sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, the celebration of the life of a departed loved one. 26 years ago, people came into my life and into the life of the church I was serving as complete strangers. We welcomed them as our newest neighbors. Many of them lived almost within the shadow of the church building, but very quickly they became established friends. In the process, the church and I were allowed to experience the deep bond of common humanity that binds all people together. We also were allowed to experience the divine presence in a deeper and more profound way. Let me quickly tell you another story. It's a far more ancient story, and it comes from the 18th chapter of Genesis in the Hebrew Scriptures. It tells the story of Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah were nomadic herders, following their herds in search of pasture. One day, 3 strangers appeared on the horizon, and as is typical of Mideastern hospitality, they welcomed them. They washed their feet. They provided them with bread. They killed and cooked a fatted calf. They brought out their cheese curds. Once the strangers had been fed and entertained as they prepared to continue on their journey, they made a promise. Despite Abraham's and Sarah's apparent infertility and their advanced age, they were promised the gift of a child. Sarah laughed at this preposterous promise. The 3 Abrahamic religious traditions look back on this encounter as part of the origin story of their traditions. Jews and Christians see the promise fulfilled in the birth of Isaac, whose name means, yes, laughter. And Muslims see the promise fulfilled when Hagar gives birth to Abraham's son Ishmael, whose name means God hears. Reflecting on this ancient story and the power that's released when we extend welcome to the stranger. In the Christian scriptures, in the epistle to the Hebrews, the author says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, For by doing this, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Jesus said, inasmuch as you have welcomed the stranger, or failed to welcome the stranger, so you have welcomed me, or failed to welcome me. Where do we find God in this world of ours? How do we begin to capture that elusive spark of the divine? I believe it begins when we welcome strangers and then treat them as a neighbor, and soon discover that they become our friends. I hope that following the service this morning, you'll take a moment to stop back at the literature table. Kathy DeLacy is back there. She's one of the leadership team from the center. None of what I describe could have happened without the center. Long before Tabernacle Baptist Church had any idea of doing ministry to newly arrived refugees, the center was already providing a pathway and homes in our community. Sadly, our government has largely turned on that activity, but the center continues its important work of not only providing a place of refuge here in Utica, but also helping those of us who have never encountered someone from the Sudan or from Afghanistan or the Ukraine, or yes, Karen folks from Burma. That work is ongoing. And Kathy would be happy to tell you more about it, and she'd be happy to tell you how you can have a part in it. Thank you for letting me share with you my story this morning.
Hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land.
We'll build a land where the
Thank you for that singing. Beautiful. We've come to time in the service for our offering, and this congregation is generous, and that generosity is appreciated by the entire congregation because it allows us to continue being a vital presence, not only for each other, supporting each other, but also for the larger community here in Utica, so that there can be more people that are welcoming, as we heard in Mark's testimony today. So let's receive this offering and with thanks. Thanks, Jeff. Rocking. Very good.
Don't mind me, I'm gonna get this TV going for the last side.
All right. That's great. And now, Deb?
And may Utica be all that it needs to be. We're going to extinguish the chalice, so please read along with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Please be there in our hearts till we meet again. Do I do these too? Leave the mic here.
Hear these closing words. My friends, may the spirit of love be a living flame within you, a guiding star above you, a firm path beneath you, and a gentle presence surrounding you.
Thank you, Reverend Mark. We are privileged and honored to have you with us today. Let me again suggest that folks take a look at what's at the table and talk to Kathy at the table that the center has come to set up at our request. Learn about the center and opportunities that might be there. Next Sunday, where are we? I might have hoped for a more enthusiastic response. But yes, that is the correct answer. The Mohawk Valley Cluster service will be at Salisbury Center, same time, 10:30. There will be carpooling from this parking lot, and people will be at the parking lot at 9:30 to carpool. Hope we can get a good turnout at Salisbury. This church will be open. There won't be anything going on, but if anybody wants to come to church here, the church will be open and someone will be on hand to greet you. Let me also mention the Democracy Action Team meets this Wednesday night. Beth Brotherton is online. Hi, Beth. And our wandering monk from last year is wandering into our presence once again. That's Brian Lotman. He will be doing a Satsang here, a workshop on Saturday, August 9th at 7 p.m. He will also be doing, participating in our service with his melodeon and some meditations on Sunday morning, the 10th. So that should be a great weekend with Brian Lotman, the Wandering Monk. Betsy thought everyone should sing along on the chorus of this song.
To which Jeff said, I don't think so. However, I persisted, so. Pretty easy.
All right, here we go.
My grandfather got on a boat when he was only 5 years old. His father told him of his dream of freedom, hope, and cities paved with gold. They left the life they knew behind, and soon they saw the shoreline of America rising from the sea. In the new world, their new home had a view of the Statue of Liberty. Keep your light held high. Keep the dream alive. Watch over me, Lady Liberty. Jesus. My mother grew up on a farm in northern Idaho. Her father told her of his dream that a working man could make the wheat fields grow. So when the chores were done at night, she studied by the candlelight to learn about her country's history. From around the world her people came, drawn by the light of justice and history. Keep your light held high. Keep the dream alive. Watch over me, Lady Liberty. I live in California now with a family of my own. I tell my children of my dream to reach out and discover worlds unknown. Someday we're gonna take a trip, descendants of the immigrants, fly through the sky from sea to shining sea. Stand where so many dream their dreams beside the Statue of Liberty. Keep your light held high. Keep the dream alive. Watch over me, Lady Liberty. One more time. Keep your light held high. Keep your light held shore.